Hey guys, what's up? All right. It's Double Deuce back with another episode of Radio Out of Control. Today's episode is going to be inside the two-stroke V8 weed whacker. I've had a million questions on this, and I'm going to go through it all to show everybody how I did it. And here we go. Okay, welcome back everybody. So I've had a million questions on this. It's probably been one of my top videos. It does, I don't know how many views a day. This was just a challenge in my head that I said one day, hey, you know what, I want to try this out and see if I can make it run. Well, it did fire, okay, but I had so many problems with this. The induction system was messed up. It was there was just a boatload of everything that could have went wrong, okay? So basically, I tore it back apart again because I realized something very important. And that is inside your crankshaft casings, okay, you need what's called crankshaft compression. And one of the things I had overlooked during this whole build was that, and it was probably one of the most important things. When on a two-stroke, take this here as one of the jugs here. A lot of you people know this already, but other people don't, and I kind of knew of it, but I didn't know exactly of it. Let me get one without a gasket on here so I can kind of, I almost got half a gasket. Get some gaskets here. Here we go. Now, you see these are ports in here, okay? And your crankcase compression works with these ports. And now, this is your intake side. This is your exhaust side. Okay, what I did was I built an intake manifold for this. Okay, and when I did that, I totally overlooked the importance of, I guess, vacuum. Okay, and draw and pressure. All these have to work together. And some of you guys out there have been wicked cool with trying to help me out with a few things here and there. You can see it, you know, it's just I shaved the heads down and stuff. So basically what I learned was the crankcase compression, okay, is the most important, because when the piston comes down, okay, it's a totally sealed chamber, and the pressure inside the crankcase blows the fuel charge up into these ports. And it also, this little port here for your carburetor, it runs a little fuel pump in there that keeps fuel to the carburetor. And so with me overlooking the crankcase compression, these things are just, the air was just moving back and forth and all over the place, and it just wasn't working. when you would feed air down the carburetor, it would fire right up and then shut right off. And it was a random pulse pop all the time, and it wanted to run, but it just, like I say, there's too many factors that went wrong. So what I've come up with was inside these saddles here. These are my main saddles, okay? And inside these, I have 2 bearings as a main bearing on each one. However, this is what the bearing looks like. And if you can clearly see, yeah, you can see right through that thing, okay? There's no way this is going to seal up anything. So my pressure was going all over the place, back and forth inside the crankcase, and that right there was not helping me out at all. Every now and then fuel would come up through the ports and it would fire. So what I've done now is I had this all sealed off with gaskets, okay? So this was completely sealed, and I used the outer halves of the cases that I had and turned them around, and because I have seals in the outsides of them over here, and so the outside was sealed, the crankcase was sealed here, but it wasn't sealed in between. And so, like I say, the charge was going nowhere. There was just a bunch of wind going down in there, and the liquid gas that got beyond the cylinder into the crankcase that got thrown up into the ports was what was firing. So I bought these neoprene washers. Now I'm going to soak these in some gasoline to see if they expand or not. Because you know how gas and rubber sometimes don't get along. You know, any kind of a solvent like that, and certain rubbers don't get along at all. And I'm going to put them in between these 2 bearings in each one of these here to seal off. That way each bearing will get lubed from the blow-by, but yet it'll be sealed to seal the crankcase compression off. And I'm going to totally eliminate the intake system that I had. I'll move this over here for a second. I'm going to tear this apart in a minute here to show you guys some more. Because here's my carburetor set up. I had them all set up on these intake manifolds that I had made. And so basically, these were a cross hatch setup, like so. You know, they went in between each other, I should say. Like whatever here, get them right here. But I had them staggered like this on top of the motor. What I failed to realize too, okay, even though that I drilled holes to put my fuel pump in later because I was in a hurry, what I failed to realize, my stroke on this crankshaft is about 1 inch, okay, and I've got a 2-inch draw port here. So even if I wanted to, in a perfect world, would have the crankcase sealed up and everything, it's only going to draw just a little bit. It ain't going to, there's not enough stroke to pull through this 2-inch thing. So yeah, it was really cool that I made this, and this is going in the garbage. So anyhow, now what I'm going to do is, okay, grab that same one again. Okay, I had my pistons and my jug set up in a 90-degree fashion. Okay, so they were all together 90 degrees, which you've seen in the last video I had. I'm going to turn these around, okay, because I noticed on the Evinrude, the carbs or injectors are right on the outside, and the Evinrude V8s, and the exhaust port is basically on the top. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these around and put all the carburetors to the outside, and I'm going to run pipes off this, and eventually I am going to get a tuned pipe for each one of these here. And those are expensive because you have to get them into the RC world, and so I'm going to have to cut them up and modify them. But my YouTube channel ever takes off and I start bringing in some money here, I would be doing more things for you guys, because YouTube changed the rules there, and I guess I was kind of down and out for a while there, and had some pretty traumatic things happen in my life, and so I didn't do any videos for a couple of years, and I didn't realize that after 6 months YouTube demonetizes you. And I just started making a little bit of money off my advertisements, which I was going to funnel right back into the YouTube videos for you guys. So anyhow, so that's that's where I'm at now. Everything comes out of my pocket. All these RC cars and all this stuff right now is basically coming out of my pocket, and it's getting expensive. All right, off that and get back onto the motor here. Sorry for my rant there. Okay, I'm going to tear this apart. You see on the top here, I took a piece of angled aluminum here, and I drilled out and shaved out all these ports so the jugs fit in nice and tight with gaskets and everything else. However, what I did forget was ports have timing, okay? And I learned that the hard way. Okay, so basically the jug would set down here, okay? Well, what I did was I added this piece on top here, not thinking, and it basically threw my timings off on my ports, which was very important, because I've watched a lot of videos with you guys out there with your two-stroke bike motors and all this stuff. And port timing, once you play with that, forget it. I mean, it's a very fine-tuned area. I guess you can play with it a little bit, but it's with a two-stroke, they're very, very finicky to that. Because so between my 2-inch intake manifold, my port timing was way off. My compression was down because I've actually lowered it by 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and like I say, this is all the train wreck things that were happening through this whole thing. And of course, then my exhaust I made was basically great for a 4-stroke motor, but it sucks for a 2-stroke. So those are going in the trash. Now, I'm going to tear this apart because I've had everybody say, "Hey, how did you connect the crankshafts together?" Well, all right, you can see I basically made it on a 45-degree plane. Okay, so every 45 degrees, there's 2 pistons firing. And, which is a great idea because, hey, a 4-stroke V8's like that. But a 2-stroke V8, you could probably set it up in many different configurations. I probably would do it a little different, but I'm going to try to get this running again. And I'm going to eliminate all the problems I have. Then I'm going to go from there. So I'm going to pop this end off over here and show you guys exactly how I put the crankshafts together. And all right, now as you can see, this is your stock housing that I altered. Okay, and here's the crankshaft pieces. Now what I did was inside here, get the piston out. Well, it probably may not come out, but it should, without taking the pistons off the top. Bear with me, guys. Still. There we go. Now, see how the bearing is on there? See what I did? I ground a slot on one side and pop this out of here. I stuck the bearing on it, and then on the other side, come on, baby. Everything's so such a tight fit in this motor. No, I'm not gonna screw it up because I have to tear it down. And as you can see, what I did back here was get some light on it over here for you guys. There we go. You see how I just ground a pin. So there's a male slot on one side and a female slot on the other side. And I slid the bearing over one side and the bearing over the other side, and they pin together. Okay. Now, the bearing keeps everything together. And the bearing housing over here is just a piece of tubing that I had welded together on a plate. So that all this stuff here basically is you know, kind of a not press fit. It's actually just kind of a an easy Lego fit, basically. So the problem is you can actually lose your crankshaft thing if you're not paying attention when you're putting this thing together. It's like an erector set. You got to figure out which. Okay, this one's on the bottom, this one's on the top, this one's over here, and this one's over there on your counterweights. And you see, I just tack welded the weights together. I had cut the shafts right off, put these together, lined them up, and welded the two counterweights together because I wanted to hear it run. So that's how I built the crankshaft. Now that gasket I was telling you about is going to go in between both bearings, and it's going to seal up, you know, it's going to seal the two bearings together and give me my crankcase compression back, hopefully. And we'll see if that works. You know, this is an all seat of the pants thing. I'm not a definitely not a machinist by no part. You know, I'm a body man. And you know, I cut and weld and grind. I put your car together and pull the front wheel off and under the front seat for you and get it back looking new again. But when it comes to like intricate stuff like this, it could be a challenge for a guy like me. Now I'm going to get to the ignition system. Now the ignition system, at first, if you've seen this, I had a Vortec distributor on here, okay, and I thought, well, this is going to be cool because it's going to, you know, it's going to work that way. For one, the 360 circle in between the distributor and the 360 circle on my crankshaft, they didn't line up, okay. So I know a 360 circle in your head says, oh yeah, no matter where you put that, it's going to line up, but it doesn't, okay. So to overcome that, I had actually taken, I built this. This is basically an engine mount. Okay, what I did was I went and I took a small block Chevy distributor off an old truck back in the 70s. This was a points distributor, and I took the vacuum advance plate off of it. Okay, and then I just made a piece of pipe there, the same thing I made my main bearings out of, and I put a bearing in there so that, you know, and this will slide on the outside of the crank. Now I eliminated the points and I put an electronic reluctor wheel in here, okay, and this was plastic, and so basically when this triggers a coil, all right, every time it goes by it triggers the coil to fire. And which brought me to another problem, because there's no way possible for you to take a regular car coil and get spark to travel down two wires at the same time. It may randomly do it, but there's no way possible, because it's always going to go to, it's going to follow the least path of least resistance. Then the other problem I had was, this is the reluctor wheel on the front. This goes on the end of the crankshaft, and it sits in here, and you see I made just trap windows in here, and I had to weld this together because this actually broke on me. This was the upper wheel off the Vortec distributor here, and being it had a nice circle on it, I took a piece of exhaust pipe and made, because this was originally plastic and I had bolted it to the top of that Vortec distributor, put it on top of this, and every time I went to fire it, the plastic reluctor wheel would explode into a million pieces because of the inertia of spinning around. It just wasn't, you know, it's one thing. Another thing I forgot about was, on your 4-stroke engine, your camshaft and distributor only travel half as fast as your crankshaft does. All right. Now on a 2-stroke motor, I had this traveling just as fast as the crankshaft was going, and it just couldn't handle it. And you know, like I say, physics takes over and things start exploding. This actually blew off the thing because I just didn't have enough welds on it, and this almost took my eye out. But long story short, the spark down 2 wires thing, as you can see here, I got 4 Harley Davidson coils, and which fire simultaneously, you know, two at a time. Okay, and this here I put 4 of them on there. Now, the way I have it set up on the reluctor wheel, they all fire at the same time 4 times every revolution. Okay, every 360 degrees, this thing fires 4 times. At that point in time, the 2 cylinders that are at top dead center under compression should be the only ones that are going to ignite the fuel. The rest of them will fire into a dead cylinder. And like I say, that took me a while to figure that out. So basically, I had taken a snowblower starter motor, put on the back of this with a window regulator gear out of an old, I think it was like a 78 Mercedes 240D front window. And so the teeth lined up on the snowblower teeth and the window. So that's how I used to start the thing. And the more things I put on it, the heavier this thing became. So this is where I'm at now. Okay, we're down to fixing all the little things in my head that I had seen. Now, if you guys have any ideas, or if you guys can see any future mistakes here that I can avoid, feel free to, hit me up. So, and like I say, there's still a comment out there, because I didn't realize what an interest this would have on everybody. And to me, it was just something in my head. I've tried to build micro V8s before, and it, I've always had the 2-stroke V8 in my head. My problem was the camshaft, was getting all the lobes correctly put on the camshaft. I actually made like a key maker one time and put a big block Chevy crankshaft on it, or camshaft, and I had a wheel grinding a small one. The problem is the spring weights were too heavy, and it wiped the motor out, or wiped the valve train right out of it. So a friend of mine suggested, hey, why don't you do a 2-stroke motor? And, V8. And so, for years I chewed on it, and here I am. Now the bearing saddles here, okay, these were all loose within. I had 2 external pieces of angle here that I tack welded these together once I got it all together. But these here, I welded nuts and tapped all this stuff in here. These will come out, and I can separate this from this piece of aluminum angle. Now, on the inside in here, okay, these here actually come out through the bottom on that, and these here unscrew on the thing, so I can pull them apart. And I can, get in there to service the thing, because one of the things I wanted to do is make sure it was serviceable. So anyway, that's where I'm at now. I just wanted to give you guys a look inside this thing and a heads up. And, like I say, I appreciate you guys showing an interest on it. And, everybody wanted to hear it run. I wish I had video of it when it was firing, because it was pretty sick. And, like I say, if it would have stayed running, I would have had the camera on it. But the problem was it wouldn't stay running because of all the combined problems together. So once I get that rectified, then I will put a video camera out there when I go to start it the next time. So anyhow, like I say, like, share, subscribe if you want. I appreciate the following. I appreciate all the comments, and any questions, anything like that, feel free to hit me up. I'll get to them as fast as I can. And like I say, hope you guys had a great weekend here. Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to throw that one out there for all our service members and all that and their families. I am a Army brat myself, and it's a way of life that I think you should be proud of, and wish more people had the opportunity to live that lifestyle. Because you might think it sucks at the time, but when you get back out in the real world and you look and you're like, wow, I like that a lot better. Anyhow, this is Denny. I'm out of here. Adios, man.